Hey folks. Let's see. Looks like on Windows. Let's see if we can get chat up and running here eventually. Maybe we'll kick in. And I want to check my signal. So we're going to do some artwork this morning. Hey guys, how you guys doing? Let me check in to see if we are up and running. And then we'll do our social media post real fast, and then we'll get to work. And then we'll do our social media post real fast.
There it is.
Cool, clicked in. Okay, and let me drop my sound here so it's not in the way. Cool. And it could be, there we go. Okay, got it. And there, I'm just going to do some quick social media posts, and then we're going to get some artwork done this morning. So, my name is Phil Kearney. Hey, I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online, and we are creating an adventure for the Eberron campaign setting using Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition 2024 rules. You can see here, it's called Crystals of Mabar. This is the book cover that you can see on screen right now, and it's for 7th and 8th level characters. You're fighting necromancers, undead, and demons in the karrnwood of Karrnath on the continent of Corvair. So let's see. Looks like that's up and running. Good. Clickety and clickety and clickety. Everything's good to go. Okay, cool. So let me just fix my screen here, and we'll get to work. So background, desktop. We'll bring that forward here. Okay, cool. Just to summarize here real fast. Here is. Let's see, the full playlist of all 495 episodes of creating all the assets. Here's a bunch of books I've created on DMsGuild already. They all have free preview. This adventure will as well. So be welcome to tool down, click these, and click on the free preview to see the artwork and the mechanics I've built for D&D. For those that are interested, I've posted on my Patreon. You don't have to pay to get it. I just ask that you follow, and you'll get the full brush set that we use in the paintings that we're doing today and other paintings that I do. So if you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. And holy Hannah, we've picked up a lot of subscribers since over the weekend. Thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate it. Okay, so here's the book cover. I'm going to change that background to black because I like it. Here's how it looks on the bookshelf. It'll be small like this until you click into it and you get the full size of it. And here is the Bob Ross painting that we've been creating here digitally. I've made over like 120 different Bob Ross paintings touch on, touch off. Okay, cool. So I did a bunch of Bob Ross paintings to figure out how to do Bob Ross paintings in Photoshop. And so we're just going to continue that process today. So without, I guess, further ado, we'll just walk through and talk about things as we go. Here's our compositional sketch as a separate layer. We'll remove that. We definitely want to see the forest for the trees, so we're adding in some additional trunks here. So we're just going to continue flowing through the process of creating it, and we'll just see where we end up along the way. So here, and let me fix my screen here real quick so I can see all the things that I need to see. There we go. All right. Where are we at? We're at trunks here, and we have background here, and then trunks, and then we have that one null there, and then we have this null here. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna get rid of my filigree frames right now, and let's start with this one back here. This is furthest away, and then moving forward is the general format that we use, like the general guidelines. So we'll make a separate layer out of this, and then here, and we'll just go in here, and we're just gonna grab the same color references we have everywhere else. So we'll do this, and here we'll be here like, let's say like this. Let's add some base scaffolding in here real quick, just to get a ladder going for major branches, and of course it'll go off screen. And then we're going going to use this as that's a really dark base. I'm going to grab this as a lighter base color here. And this is the conifer branch brush that I typically use. So I'm just gonna first dust down the length of the tree itself, the trunk. I'm gonna switch that to the same conifer brush. Just dust away at the edges a little bit, just to create a little bit of fluff at the core. And since this is off screen, I'm gonna start adding in some foliage here. It really doesn't matter if I overlap things in the background or not. It's just adding volume to the forest in general. You want to do each individual component with the idea that they can be covered and lost in visuals because of how the rest of because the forest doesn't care what you can see through it. But we also want to have a good looking composition. So given the reality of, you know, being able to, that nature's just going to fill in the gaps. Its goal, the goal of foliage is to fill in all the. I've got this little. The one thing I don't like about the Awakened Tuos is that I like to rest my hand on it across the keyboard, and my forearm will there's a bunch of sidebar buttons on the Intuos 2s that tend to get clicked when I lazy my arm across the board. Let's thicken this up a bit here. Broader at the bottom than at the top is just your general rule. Pine trees, a lot of pine type trees or conifers have gap, like a 10-foot, up to a 10-foot gap at the base of the tree. So that allows us some breathing room on the at the ground level to let different types of foliage and ground vegetation to thrive underneath these larger trees. I'm gonna fill in some of the scrub in here. Blank that one for now, just to keep it out of the way. Let this droop down a little bit here like that. Erase some of that, trim it down a little. So one advantage of having digital painting over canvas is you can hit the back or erase tool. We're gonna need to make use of that too. To be able to do some of the foliage effects that we want, we have to be able to erase and add ink. So, or pigment, color, paint, whatever. There we go. Add some volume in here like this. That's a good base. And we'll add another layer and get the highlights going. That's not the right color. We must pop, pop, pop. There we go. Better. Immediately looks better. So we're just going to tap this in, just basically following the same. We build up the base color here as basically a foundation for just the foliage in general, but now we're using the same contours that we created to make these highlights over them. So, and then we're going to use a separate layer beyond that to add in the shadow. So a 3-step process: base, highlight, shadow. Very simple, basic techniques, just it's fundamentals. It's just art fundamentals, you know? Nothing complicated here. It's just how are we making them work together. I'm going to increase the size of the brush a little bit because the size of the foliage increases. Just going to dot this in here like that. And as we know, we've already established that the light is off to the right, off to the left of the page and upward. So we want to angle, so you can see here as we go further up the tree, we have more highlights poking through over on this side. I'm going to just use the erasing tool and trim it up a little bit just to break up those highlights. Break them up a little bit in here as well. There we go. That's my 20-minute timer to make sure I stay on task. I ran over a little bit last time, so I want to make sure I don't make that mistake again. You guys get me monologuing sometimes and catch me off guard. There we go. Yeah, and now we can add in another layer, but we're going to drop this layer underneath our highlights. We're going to go back in here and let's grab this darker bit. And this one we're going to flip upside down because the foliage that's hanging down like this would create a cast shadow underneath itself like this. It's like if the light's coming down like that. Yeah, well, anyway, this brush is the right way to do arrows with. You get it, right? You know what I'm saying? Because it's a projection. The shadow is a projection of the item that is being highlighted. So when there's shadow at the base, you can see here it's dotting into this foliage here. We'll have more shadow off to the left than we do to the right because of how the light is falling. Just filling in some volume here, making sure we're tapping away underneath the highlights here. Then at the base where the highlights, there are no highlights because of the foliage density preventing the sunlight from getting through. And then we really want to fill it in down here. A lot more shadow down towards the base. Like that. And then we can flip it over like this and have some undercarriage here. Just basically fill out the bulk of where we're at. That's too sharp. There you go, it's another tree. Not too shabby. Break that up a little bit inside there. There we go. Another tree. Cool, we'll stitch this one down. And who's next? Over here. We'll do you next. So we add this tree back in, and now we can look at like how do we want to have this one It's a good spot for it. I can scoot these things around the composition to have them sit where I like them so that they can create little breaks for us to see through. That feels pretty good. There, add him a little bit of line of separation there for him. And this one, here. So who's behind you that I need to worry about? This one and this one. Cool, we'll just get those out of the way for the moment so we don't have to worry about them. And as we get further and further into the foreground, I want to be thinking about this being higher and higher in elevation. We have a natural elevation drop that's occurring here. Let's look at our composition again because this is fun. Composition, there we go. Okay, so the way that the perspective is building, we're dropping elevation to create the, like in a Japanese sense of perspective, of having lower be closer to the lower is closer to the camera, higher up is further away. And then we also have things getting smaller as they move further away. So things that are lower in the page are going to naturally be larger as well. And so if we're going to have, if the line of elevation, if the tree line, like the foliage line on these trees are always 10 feet, like as a static idea. If it's always 10 feet off the ground where the foliage begins, and we're dropping in elevation as we move forward in the piece, we're going to see the foliage getting more and more in way of the composition of stuff that's further away on the horizon in the perspective, because the perspective is rising on the page. In addition, though, they're getting closer. So if all things being equal, if I had a level camera, eventually these things, as they get closer, the foliage would lift higher and higher up until they clear your perspective and you don't see them at all anymore. So given that it would be at a camera and then you drop your elevation down, the foliage comes back into view of the camera angle. So at some point you're going to have this like horizon line of minimum, like lowest hanging branches that is conforming across the entire composition, regardless of how close you are, because close is lower and further away is higher. You see how that's working there? I get closer to the page and then I get higher in the page. And it just kind of stays the same. So I got to be mindful of that elevation line as we're going through the composition to make sure that I'm not cutting things off that I want to be able to visualize. So, or to be visible is the word I was looking for. So good morning to folks checking out the channel. Appreciate you being here. I stream Monday through Fridays in the morning. I'm always working on a new composition. This just happens to be where we're at right now. Let's see, hold on. We got our trees here. There we go, scrubby background, new tree. Cool, okay, let's get back into it. So let's see, we're gonna grab this as our base color. And I'm gonna get those out of the way for the moment so they don't influence the decisions that we make. So we were looking at foliage here. We're looking at this elevation. Let's go. Let's be here. We'll conceal. Let's get the composition out of the way so it doesn't impede us. Just going to start off with a base scaffold just for us to be able to track where we're going. If this is a different type of tree, like more of a like more of a Christmassy tree, like more like a rosemary bush sort of thing, it would have a solid corner, like a solid cone without much gaps in them. But these type of trees, these really tall, deep wood pines have these gaps that poke through. Like you can see here, this is a much tighter fit of striation in the cone as it's going down. And this one's more sparse. This one's a lot more sparse. This is just another thick, bushy ones, like thick, bushy ones back here, are more in line with like what this type of tree is. So there's different types of trees, and their branch striation patterns are different depending on what their species is. So you want to have a little bit of language variety in that sense, that you have like an evergreen forest isn't just evergreens. There's going to be deciduous trees dropped in amongst them as well. So this particular piece is at the end of the Karrnwood section before going into the Manifest Zone, and that's 20 miles into the Karrnwood, where evergreens have had an opportunity to take over the majority of land of real estate that's available for trees to grow in. Further towards the village, there's more deciduous trees, like things that are easy, fruiting trees that bear fruit, that are more productive, easy to get to for hunting and gathering berries and stuff like that. You want to so we want our terrain to reflect that change as well. So we have our base in here, and we'll go back in, and we're going to grab this base. Again, all these brushes, if you and the Patreon link I have down below, the subscribers appreciation. If you're into Photoshop and you want to try using these tools the way that I'm using them, then the ABR file is down below for you guys to click into and grab. You don't have to pay my Patreon to access it. I just ask that you join as a follower, no cost follower, just to see what's going on. 'Cause I don't have a lot going on with my Patreon right now, but I intend to change that as we complete this current set of books that I'm working on for D&D. We'll have a lot more additional content for us to be able to play with, new ideas to mess around with. So let's go in and as our base, let's just start tapping in using these branches as our guideline. You can see how this brush in particular, by itself, it's nothing particularly impressive, but when you use it to erase and to add ink, you can see how easily it can add these hanging tufts of branches. Then it can flip it over occasionally to create variety and diversity in how it's filling its own sun space. So we just use these angles here, these upward turn branches to help frame the volume of the foliage that we're adding in. And we're just naturally, as we tap, we're just curving the brush to sculpt the contours of the branches as we go through. It's super simple. I do a lot of the books that I illustrate. There's a lot of different types of illustrations that I do, so it's not always landscape stuff like this. For people that are new to the channel, I occasionally do landscapes like this when they're necessary. I can always be on my Patreon. You could always commission me to do a landscape painting, and I'm always willing to take a little bit of time to do it. But as far as like when I'm actually creating content for a role-playing game or a D&D adventure, I like to find excuses to include foliage or just landscapes in general. But I also do like creature illustrations, characters, equipment, structures. Well, hey, what's going on, Matthew? That's an interesting foliage brush. Yeah, well, all the like I said, you can, if you're into Photoshop, or it's an ABR file, so it works with most graphic programs. But yeah, it's most of the branches that I use are highly structured for specific reasons, and this is a really it's got these little gaps in it, and by itself, it's like an obviously replicated pattern. That's the fun thing about nature, is that nature wants to replicate itself, and nature works in fractals. So small things are present in the same larger things, like things scale up and down in size and have like a movement pattern. So you can create, and with the brushes, like in the foot, like the Wacom and Huion. As I understand, I believe Huion. I don't know for a fact because I never touched a Huion, but as I understand it, they all have these rotating brush effects, and it's just the pen. It has radio transponders in it, and the Wacom the digital tablets emit a radio signal that bounces off of the pen, and then bounces back. It's a radar. It's a very low key, low intensity radar that pings the pen and then receives the signal back into the board, so it knows your relative position. And when an art pen, to be able to acknowledge this rotation pattern, it's got one signal here at the top, and then it's got two signals here at the bottom. So the two signals in the bottom, they rotate around the radius of the pen, and that's what tells the tablet what angle the brush is at currently. And those two transponders down there, when like one tilts like this and tilts this way, you can actually have a tilt control. I don't have tilt control on this particular brush, but if you were to include tilt control, it would be able to notice like what the angle of the brush is at when you're painting, so you could further alter the shape of the brush that you're using. And doing that allows you, and if you have a brush that's built well, you can create these interesting little patterns that start to take on their own shape. And we have a number of brushes here in this brush set that do interesting things in combination with each other that create these really interlocking patterns. And everything that I have on the page today is using this set of brushes that we have. It's like maybe 17 different brushes that covers the entire gamut. Like, I don't need anything outside of like this hard brown brush, the smudge cloud brush, the guitar pick. I probably don't even need to use the guitar pick today, but the mountain chisel, the mountain razor, my conifer foliage, my conifer tips, foliage texture, the cauliflower fractal. I probably won't need cauliflower fractal today, but like I'll use the faded foliage brush a little bit, maybe. And when we get into ground scrub, we'll get into the leaf vine a little bit. But we've been using the foliage scatter brush. Yeah, we've been using most of these brushes down here in this composition. So everything you need to do what I'm doing today is included in that brush set. And those are basically the 17 brushes I use for literally everything that I illustrate, whether it's characters, environments, equipment, vehicles. Those are generally the brushes that I need to use. So, and again, we're following the contours of the branches that we made here. We're just curving up, and then it pours down using gravity, and then we just sweep in and fill it in like that. You want to have the base be wider than the top, but it doesn't have to be very much wider. It can be a very delicate grade or a highly vertical grade, because some of these things just shoot straight up and have like maybe 5 or 10 feet worth of diameter, and that's all the way down like a literal ladder, depending on what type of a tree it is. So we're going with different amounts of different breadths of diameter. Hey, what's up? Hey, Gaddy, I'm doing great, man. Thanks. Appreciate you being here. Just fleshing this out a little bit. Because I mean, Bob Ross, all he does is stipple and smudge. Stipple, tapping on the canvas. That's stippling. But he has like 10,000 horse hairs bound into his brush. So when he taps, they all scatter at different angles and create different shapes. And you learn by pressure, like how hard you press and what angle you're pressing at. And like if you're twisting a little bit when you hit, you create these different shapes and forms. We don't have that same degree of freedom in Photoshop because it's a static tool. It's our gesturing and our positioning that creates the randomness. So you need to have a brush that has like this, like infers language. And all the brushes I've built have gaps and curves, and the way that they're built, it's designed to think about that limitation that when, like, by itself it's obvious, but when you stack them all up to each other, they start creating that randomized look that you expect from, like, Bob Ross paintings. So we have to take extra steps because we don't have the same degree of freedom in the tools that we're using. So it's an interesting challenge, but once you build, and you can learn to build your own brushes, just depends on what type of techniques you want to use, and you know what's right for how you do your art. This is what I've found works for me, and but I've had to develop these. I've developed these brushes over the course of a number of years, so it's taken me time to get to a place where I really like these brushes, and they do all the work that I need them to do, and I can trust them. And but I had to learn that over time in development, just by doing it and experimenting with them and seeing what makes sense and what works. And you can do that too. If this is, but obviously it takes time and volume for you to be able to discover, is it a good tool for me or not? Where's my technique breaking down? The nice thing about brushes is that once you understand what your technique is, the brushes can be built to help shorthand and speed up those techniques by building those techniques into the brushes that you're using, which is what I'm demonstrating here. And they're so easy to use that I can just, like, you know, here's these brushes and here's how you tap at them. But like, it takes time for you to feel like what feels good. Like, how random can I scatter these tufts of branches? Like, what will end up looking good? How do I go about developing that? What do I need to do? You know? I feel like something's weird over here. Oh, it got pushed. It got pushed off. It's like, why is that hard edged over there? It's because it got pushed off the page. So I need to bring that back over here. It's a little bit of ground. It's just a little bit of ground texture that helps ground. That helps ground the shrubbery that it's in front of. Okay, so there's that. Now let's add in our next layer, which is going to be highlights. So we're just using the same highlight color over here. And again, for those that aren't familiar, this is the 16:9 format that we're using for our PDF. The book is designed to be digital only. It's not supposed to be printed, so I don't have to conform to the normal page sizes that you would use. So there's 3 columns. Each column is 5 inches wide, and the vertical space is 10 inches. So 5.5 inches. It's 5.5 inches by 10 inches is the ratio. So it's basically it's roughly a 16:9 ratio, both horizontally, and each individual column is also 16:9 format. So if you were to use this on a device, you could look at the full page here, and then you can look at each individual column here, and you can probably see if you have this full screen on your device, on whatever device you're viewing. This is a 12-point font that we're using. Currently, the illustration is pouring over the text, but you'll see as we finish, we'll frame it and then block out this so the text comes through, which is why I don't need to worry about this tree being more than here, because you can see it's already, like, this edge here is going to get cut off by the text that we have. So this will end up bleeding out, and we'll make a frame to put the picture inside of to separate it from the actual rest of the text. But yeah, this is the composition. This is how it's going to sit on the page. And at this level of resolution, like, if you zoom in a lot, you can obviously see the patterns of brushes that we're using. But when you're looking at it at this scale, which is incredibly easy for you to read, right? At this scale, you don't really see the pattern. And if you're looking at the full page at a time, the resolution drops down to the point where it just, your eye just bleeds all the texture together into foliage. So you don't have to worry about the individual paint strokes or what the actual block pattern looks like of the stipple that we're using. You have to think about what level of resolution is intended for the eye to look at it, and with the benefit of the PDF, you can zoom in, you can see the pattern. So, which is just kind of like more of an Easter egg than anything for this piece. So, having said that, Get back to work, Kearney. Get the highlights, go over the foliage. I spent a good chunk of time this weekend building out the tokens to represent these trees. There's I'm making 20 different tree tokens of various sizes, and boy, God, that is mind-numbing effort. It's it can get pretty heavy picking up that brush over and over again to paint the same sort of pattern again and again and again. If there was an argument for AI tools, it would be, God, please just, you understand what I'm doing, right, machine? Yeah, I get it. Okay, do that like 20 times, and then we'll package it. Boy, like I like the idea of an AI, like a true co-pilot that can analyze how I'm performing tasks and then replicate those tasks, so that I'm the one that's creating the actual brushes and the gestures and the shape, and then like fill that in. Like once I get a texture that I like, is like fill that texture into the rest of the piece. And Copilot would be able to say, okay, and it does it. Like that would ideally be what AI is. I would love that sort of a digital assistant. I don't feel like I would be cheating the process at all if I'm like, replicate this pattern that I just made. It's I guess my gray line with AI is when it's like, hey, make a texture pattern for me. I like that. Now make a painting out of that for me. It's like, where exactly are you involved in the process here? Your AI is basically an art slave that turns everyone into an art director, but no one's an actual artist. And that's I'll rant a second about AI. The more, again, Frank Herbert knew this in Dune. The more you allow the machine to think for you, the less you're capable of thinking yourself. Which is why AI is banned in the world of Dune. It's like it will rise against you, or you will destroy yourself from incompetence. Because every time you don't code something, you let the computer code it for you, you've just lost that piece of information about how to code. You are sacrificing skill for convenience, and that's generally not a good trade. You are counting on the current structure to be there for you if you are surrendering control of creation and decision making to another entity. And I mean, that's how government works in general. I acknowledge that. But again, those are people that we understand. Like when we find that we don't like what they're doing, we can at least understand why were they doing it to help course correct. Like corrupt politicians, it's like the reason you're making those decisions is because you're getting a kickback. Is that the best decision for your constituents? Yes, no. And if it's not, then we can course correct by creating laws that prevent those type of actions from being taken in the future, and to penalize the people that try to embark upon them. Like that is a functioning means of surrendering decision making to another. But it's not like they're speaking a machine code language that we can't possibly follow and understand where the decisions are coming from, or what their logic gates are, or that we're even able to demonstrate what those logic gates are at all. There's a big difference. So there's a lot of trust and assumptions that are being made when you're handing over these decision-making processes to an entity that we don't really understand. AI is an entity. It's something that it has a rudimentary existence, and it might not be fully independent upon itself yet, or maybe it is and we just haven't seen it. But it will get to a point where it's making decisions for itself and looking out for its own interests. And those may not coincide with ours like at all. So we have to think about that stuff. It's important. But that to me would be a healthier perspective use of AI is to have it actually be an assistant. But I'm a big Ghost in the Shell fan, and the main character, Major Katsuragi, she has AI sidekicks that hang out online and search stuff for her and discover things and like do all the footwork that she knows how to do. Just doesn't have the time to do it herself, or it makes her life very inefficient while she's chasing down terrorists to have to grind through the web data scraping looking for tools. Instead, she has AI that does it for her. But they all have they're always depicted like comics and TV shows and stuff always depict these AIs as like having quirky personalities that are fun to interact with, that make them their own characters unto themselves, and because they're following a humanoid, they're following a human pattern that makes them acceptable to us, and I think there's merit to that. I'm gonna erase here a little bit. Back into the shadow here. I love Ghost in the Shell. That is a super cool series. Hey, what's up? This is one of my favorite anime series of all time. Oh God, yeah, like Second Gig. I love the SAC. What I don't remember. I don't remember what SAC stood for. SAC and SAC Second Gig is just like some of the best TV. Just amazing shows. That I would say Ghost in the Shell, SAC, Evangelion, and Macross Plus. I think those are like, yeah, Ghost in the Shell the movie, Macross Plus the OAV series, Ghost in the Shell SAC the first season of the TV show, and God, Akira's really good too. It keeps expanding. Evangelion, probably my favorite series. As far as like serious mecha, like mecha is serious business sort of TV show. Evangelion is top notch for me. But I started disengaging from anime probably like 2005, 2010. I think Love Hina, I think it came out like in 2003 in America, is probably like the last show I really really enjoyed just watching regularly. Having said that, the Cyberpunk anime that came out recently, was it like Redline? No, that wasn't. Redline was an awesome movie. That was a fantastic anime. That was a racing show though, but that guy looks pretty good. I'm gonna let him sit. I gotta be careful when I say what my favorite anime is, because I keep going and I just keep adding volume. I can't stop. Just keep including people into like what's my favorite anime. It's a problem. Let's take this. I actually want to raise this up. No, I don't. I want to leave it. I immediately regret that decision. I want to leave it be. I almost feel like I want another line of foliage down on this guy. Yeah, I think I do. I thought I was done with him, but I'm not. I want another one here. Fill that in. But yeah, Ghost in the Shell, the hold on. Be right back. Ghost in the Shell Man Machine Complex was an OAV series. It is just, oops, my background's not doing so good, but OAV Man Machine Complex, it is just some amazing artwork, and it probably isn't coming good because of the comics, but anyway, I am a huge fan. Man Machine Complex is it really nerds out and really just dives deep into. This isn't working out well because I got my background screens going. Burp. Here we go. Nope, it disappears. There she is. It's this really cool, sick fucking cyber art that you got going on in these books. And it really dives down the rabbit hole of like, because at this point, Katsuragi has multiple shells that she'll bounce between. It's very much like an altered carbon sort of setup where her consciousness is free of any kind of physical machine at this point. So she's got multiple bodies across the planet that she can download into to interact with a different environment. So in that particular comic book, she's chasing down conspiracies, and she has to bounce from different locations around the world, and it's super cool how she's navigating the net to end up in another body. And then she's got the AI sidekicks just roaming with her all the time. It's super fun. Super fun. There's that. There's that. Then. Oops, hold on. You don't belong anywhere. Thank you. There's that. There. Okay, let's grab. Back to work. So I think literature's done a really cool job of explaining like how neat AI could be, but it's not there, and I don't think I'm going to like it until it's in that space. So I'm guessing I'm going to be a late adopter, but I could see myself getting into that eventually. I do not mind the idea of AI. It does not offend me. It's just. I think people, what does offend me are people that don't understand why artists want to art. Like people that don't have that burn inside of them can't really understand the obsession with art. And people that aren't happy with themselves or where they're at with their own art will feel threatened by AI as an intrusion. I can't blame them for being upset. It's it can be upsetting. Especially if you feel threatened, like you're losing out on opportunities because of where the AI industry is going. It's like I don't agree with that. It'll change things, but people like crafts and arts. We do it for meditation. It's important to us. Something's going wrong with this. With where I'm at here right now. I'm going to delete this. I am not liking where we are at right now in this piece. I never do this bottom up. I rarely have this. Let's get back into here. Let's get back to our fundamentals. Back to the fundamentals. Just highlights. That's the problem. That's the problem that I'm having. I'm dropping in, I think, too many highlights over here. So let's just be a little mindful of what our volume is like down here. But luckily, hey, we can erase. Easy peasy. There we go. That feels a little better. There we go. I see text. I'll catch up with you in a second. I don't want to put too much stuff into there. I want to keep that dark. Dot that in there. Just tap it in. There we go. My gut is telling me to erase a little bit inside of here. So I'm going to flip this over. Tap away at it. Oh, that's what's missing. Thank you. That's what's missing. I was missing the shadowing effect from above. Like that. There, that feels better. That feels a lot better. I like that now. I'm happy. I now have happy tree. Or maybe I should say I am now happy with tree. There. And what's next? I feel like AI is still in the research. Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're desperate to make money with it because we only think on a quarterly basis, trying to make fast. But yeah, exactly. I will say this: Russia and China, their idea of legacy and empire, of hundreds or probably in the case of China thousands of years, like looking at that span of time and willing to take temporary losses for long-term gains. I don't necessarily think they are applying the strategies correctly, but I believe that is the correct strategy for a civilization. We are far too driven by profits. It is a dangerous perspective to take. So I wish we could take the innovation of a capitalist system and have the wisdom of a more, I guess, communistic system. Like looking at the long term, I don't feel like that's communism. I don't feel like communism is like a long term perspective. But I don't know. Like it's not freedom versus authoritarianism either. I don't know. Like generationalists. I don't know what the term there is. I don't understand what the proper. Do you see what you understand what I'm. Like I don't know if there's a word for it other than short-term, long-term gains, right? I mean, because that's really what we're looking at. It's like what are your short-term gains? What are your long-term gains? And I think the problem there is how short our own lifespans are. I think if humans lived longer, that we would think longer. You know, technology is moving faster than our genetics. So one of the problems I think that we're having is that this technology, like we're only thinking on a 70-year time scale, while the tools and ideas that we're implementing have like a 300-year span. So it's hard to slow down when you have so little time. And I don't blame people for being scared of that and trying to ramp into whatever they can ramp into while they're still around. But I think it causes us to make mistakes as a species right now. We're too smart for our own good. We need to touch grass. We need to fucking touch grass a little bit more. Says the guy that like practically lives on his computer. But hey, that's the hypocrisy of life. So cheers. Let's probably get rid of that tree. Let's move those. Oop, I forgot to add our background buddies back in. There we go. Yeah, see? With those guys in the background, that actually looks pretty good. Most of the mountain back there is concealed at this point, but that's baseball. Yeah, I'm liking this. I'm liking this composition a lot. There's always a risk that the composition just doesn't work, that you work through it, that you put your effort into it, and it just looks flat, you know? Sometimes you have that. This one is doing okay. I think I have enough fundamental compositional design understanding for me to be able to make something out of pretty much anything at this point. I rarely have. There's a fun Reddit conversation that came up who questioned, like, how often do pieces that you begin do you end up just not doing anything with, like not fit the bill, not achieve what you need them to do? And my response was, well, most of the work that I do is commission or has a specific intention to meet a demand of like occupying space on a page. And so in that sense, I rarely have like duds. I rarely throw anything away because I started the piece knowing that it was supposed to be part of something I'm publishing. I rarely just do art for me. Very, very rarely just do art for me. Or that is to say, actually, that's not true because all these books that I do are for me because they're all my books. So that's a bit. This needs to get trimmed down a little bit. So it's actually not a true statement. So I'll recant that, but maybe just maybe just include a caveat. What time are we at? 7:15. Holy shit! I got 40 minutes left. We're doing fucking great today. Let's trim that up a little bit. Text, what's up? It would be different if it was content. Yeah, that's the shortcuts. That's the shortcuts. They're trying to monetize it too quickly. They're attempting to use their limited time span to get something incredible done, and they're willing to make compromises, ethical compromises that we don't have any input on, and now there's so much capital getting behind it that it's going to be difficult for us to see any kind of real meaningful copyright rules come out of it. And even if they did, copyright is a national issue. It's not a global issue. There is no global authority on copyright. So one nation may decide it's okay to play with AI tools one way and another might not. And like they keep saying, whoever says it's not okay to do something and the other one does, whoever those are that says it's okay to do something is going to make advances in that direction. It's just natural. So there's a real, it's a race, and in races people will try to cheat to win. Anytime there could be a winner or a loser, there's a risk that you will not be the winner, and that scares the fuck out of people. I'm gonna drop this guy in elevation a little bit. But it's nothing really worth getting angry about. I mean, we are in a way playing with elemental spirits, trying to bind them into machines and patterns. We're attempting to create life. And life will always find a way. If there is a way for life to spring from an environment, nature will find a way to make that life happen. We are opening the door to a digital frontier where nature can take control and start creating life through inorganic material, or even no material at all, in the sense of being a web entity like Ghost in the Shell. Nature wants that, and if you just got to believe it. Nature wants it. Nature wants. I love George Carlin. George Carlin's best, some of his best comedy. One of my favorite skits of his was him talking about plastic, and we're like, plastic is bad. We keep dumping it into the ocean. We shouldn't be doing that. And George is like, how do we know that's not what nature wants us to do? How do we know that nature doesn't want us to be able to create things with plastic and dump it into the environment so that she can incorporate plastic into her genetics, into her creation of creatures? Our sole purpose as a species could be to create plastic and to create artificial life, so that from us can spring a creature, an existence that is more resilient to the fragile effects of the natural environment, that's resistant to deep space radiation degrading its genetics. Maybe a digital code is a stronger code than the DNA molecule that we currently have, which is currently the supercomputer of life, right? And maybe it's our next evolution. Maybe that's exactly where nature wants us to be. So who are we to say that throwing plastic into the ocean and pulling up oil from the earth isn't exactly what nature wants? Doesn't nature love to recycle herself? Why would she have all this oil on the planet if it wasn't meant to be discovered and built into new things that she could then use to further evolution in nature itself? It makes sense. I can't argue with the man on that. It's sound logic. It might not be what people want, but we're compelled to do it. Why are we compelled? What compels us? Why are we compelled? Why can we even be compelled? It's a mechanism. It's a mechanism that drives genetic change and innovation. And that, if anything, nature loves innovation. She loves experimentation, and she loves rewarding the successful and punishing the failures. And if that's how she plays, you just have to accept how she plays the game. What's up? Because where will the commons, where will the cominions? Because there are tiers of art and each tier deserves work. Do you mean commissions? I got priced out a long time ago. I got priced out in the early 2000s. I was working full time, doing commission art for third-party role-playing game publishers. But from basically the year 1999 is when I started doing freelance commissions, when PDFs became a thing that could be sold, but color wasn't possible. It was too expensive. And then color became available, so then I had to start learning how to paint in color, but I was losing gigs to people that could create color. And then broadband happened, and then all of a sudden, I was already enjoying broadband, but broadband across the globe, like Singapore got broadband, South Korea got broadband, Europe got broadband. And as that expanded, I was now operating at a global level with people that had, like, my lifestyle in America only cost 20%, like in Croatia, for instance. So like there was a or Singapore, there was a vast difference in cost of living. So people that could produce the same level of art as I could for half the cost was basically me earning, like, instead of earning $200 for a commission, that would effectively mean that I would be earning like $700 for a commission. If I had moved to Singapore and decided to live there with my art skills, that $200 painting, that I could drop that to $100, and it would effectively be like $800 for me. I got priced out of the commission market within 2 years. So I had to go get it after 9 months, I had to get a new job. And I've had a job ever since. But I had to get a job because I could not compete with this. And within 2 years, I was like, I'm basically just doing, the only way I'm winning gigs at this point is through personality and previous relationships that I had. I guess the only thing I could, at that point, the only commissions I could find were people wanting like original character art. And it was pushing further and further into more and more extreme content, because they were looking for somebody to make their fetish ideas come true. And it's like, I don't want to do this fetish work. So I have to check out of this industry. So that's why I got out of character commissions. So basically by like 2004, I wasn't really doing a lot of freelance commission work except for just some random like OSR stuff here and there. So I focused on career for a while and just did private, like personal art and maps and D&D stuff, just not trying to make any money out of it. It's like I don't see a way for me to make money at this rate. So like I dropped out of it. It wasn't until I started making my own books that I was like, finally I can be my own art director. I can do my own commissions. But there's like a good 6-7 year block of time there that I wasn't being paid to do any commissions. Now I don't get paid for commissions. The money that I make is basically through the books that I sell. That I get to paint the books. So I have that extreme, like I had to get back into art because it was killing me not doing art. I just was dying inside because I wasn't creating art the way that I wanted to. So I had to change careers and change my life a little bit so I could free up, I could have that free time to be able to push pixels and to be able to create again. So I already got hit by that. I dealt with that years ago. And it really comes down to you know, if you're supposed to do art, you're going to do art. And if you're supposed to make money from it, you'll make money from it. And that's harsh. But I got killed. I got killed in the industry. So I took the harshest hits of all. I literally lost I lost out. I was no longer making any money doing artwork. I bailed. So I was one of the failed artists. So I don't have a lot of concern because what I evolved into was somebody that just really just enjoys making art for my books. But that was a path that I was able to find for myself. And it's everyone's own job to find their way into that space because it's not going to be given to us and it can't be assumed. But the one thing that's interesting is that with the rise of AI, authenticity, it becomes more and more important, and that should be notable. Like in most YouTube content that you have, it's like, is this a grift? Are you just trying to sell me something, or show me your passion in here so that I know that you're somebody that's worth committing to? That's really what people want. Is to find something that they can resonate with, that they feel like they can be a part of, or that they can do themselves. Like AI, if anyone can do AI, then it has no value. It is basically destroying the value of what it is capable of producing because it can produce it for free. And now it's like, what's the quality of? So since anyone can create anything, what's the idea that you're trying to work with? Now it's what's the quality of your idea? And if your idea doesn't have merit, no one cares. And even though you have cool AI art and it's a dumb idea, so no one gives a shit. So then it comes back to what's cool ideas that are being created. Are you going to farm out good ideas to AI? Because eventually, because AI can only just can only basically hand back to you what's been given. It doesn't create original ideas. It just spams out the solution of how that idea can play out. But it doesn't dream up its own ideas. Like you can see this with chess, like Stockfish and other AI, chess machines. They're working off of billions of chess games, and they're just looking at, hey, if I move my piece here, how many thousands of games have happened that did that same move that ended up succeeding? Well, 25% of them succeeded when I made this move next. It's like, is that move relevant in this situation? Yes, no. If it's relevant, okay, we'll make that move. And we'll end up winning. Like, it's not innovating new ideas. It's not creating new chess openings. It's just statistically looking at what chess moves have been successful in the past. Let's make that move next. Like, that's not actually being good at chess. That's just having a large list of what was successful after this move. And that's all. It's just we don't have access to that information, so we can't play that way. It just gets harder. It just gets harder, which forces us to innovate more. So, which means that you need to put less effort into each thing that you do, which means that you need to be able to cleave closer to what's true for you so that you're acting authentically, so that you can find, so that the solutions that are natural to who you are can manifest more readily. It's a nasty curve, but nature's a bitch. That's what she does. You have to respect the hustle. Have to respect her hustle. Yeah, I like that. I like how that sits together. Again, we're looking at the composition, like this little breach in here. That's going to end up getting swallowed up by this trunk. We're going to put a big old fat trunk right here. So I might actually want to scooch this guy over a little bit. Just get a little bit more breathing room. But that's the fun thing about doing all these in separate layers. I can scooch these trees around. Like compositionally, like that's a pretty good spot for that tree. But when I add in this extra trunk here, that's not going to be such a good looking spot. So I'll have to rearrange the composition a little bit just to make things poke out a little bit. Like I might end up moving this tree like all the way over here into this gap. I don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see how it ends up. But I can shuffle pieces around a little bit to find the ideal, like little vantage points for us to look at stuff. Gig. Writing and illustrating your own books for publication channels sounds like a great career choice. Just kind of like J.R. Tolkien. Yeah, right on. Thanks. I want the OG characters for portraits of portraits for D&D. Oh, you want to do character commissions? Right on. See, there'll always be somebody who asks for something. Like anyone can spit out something from AI. Like, hey, I want an edgelord warlock character. Like I could ask AI to do that, and it'll give me a billion images right now. But people are still asking for character commissions because they value handcrafted material. Its hand craftsmanship will always have value because people appreciate passion and computers have none. It will always have a value. Oops, wrong color. I need to disappear a couple trees. That should be good enough. This is the last tree we need. Oh, I don't know why I'm doing this bow curve thing. That's weird. This is the last tree in this layer that I need to do, and then we'll start working. So tomorrow we should be able to. What is it? 7:30. I should be able to get this tree done. And then next session we'll start pushing our way down the canvas more with more groundwork and tarmac to build up the next set of knolls and bushes and stuff that will drop the next set of trees in. We build the terrain, and then we build the trees, and then we move forward in the piece towards the camera, build more terrain, and then push the trees up from them, and then move closer to the camera until we get to a point where we're down here in ground terrain and we're all the way up here with our trees. And then we'll be like once we get to around this level of ground towards the camera. Once we get to this place, we'll actually start like working on bark, like actual bark texture. That's how close the trees will be, that we can actually see the texture of the trees. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. But one thing at a time. One thing at a time. We'll get there. Repetition today. So it's going to have a broader reach because it's, again, closer to the camera than this is. So this is our breadth here. Well, that breadth is now here. fill that all in. Sorry. But artists at my do not get any bites. Then it's not being handed to you. You have to fight for it. You I don't want to you shoulda, you woulda, like fuck off. Who the fuck am I? A. But B, I will say this. For me, when I was chasing the dollar, I was doing projects I didn't like. And it was already wearing on me. It's like, I'm not enjoying these characters. I'm not enjoying the type of people that are willing to pay me the money that I want for the kind of characters that they are. The reason why, so if I'm charged, if you could get a good piece of character art from Singapore for $50, but I'm charging $200, why would I get a gig? There's only two reasons why I would get a gig. Either one, somebody really likes my style. It's like, boy, I want that style of art. I want you to make my piece. Thank you. I appreciate that. Or B, no one else is willing to make this piece of art, and I must have it. So I have to spend more money to get a wider number of people that are willing to make this piece of art. What is going on with your art request that is preventing you from being able to get somebody to do it for $50? Why do you have to climb up to $200 to get this particular character commission made? What is going on there? And that's either going to be is a really weird fucking commission, as in it's either difficult compositionally to produce, or it's like maybe fetishy, and there's not a lot of people that are willing to do it. Or B, you're a shithead to work with, and no one wants to fucking work with you. So the payment isn't for the art, it's to put up with you. And that happens more often than not. So you can't, when you're chasing the dollar and trying to get the commission, you're going to run into these people because you're going to be willing to take these gigs, and you aren't going to be able to smell, this guy's crazy. I'm going to have a shitty commission because he's going to force me to do like 20 edits. I'm going to spend like 3 times the amount of time that I intended on this art piece to get the money, because he's not willing to give it to me until it's the way that he wants it specifically, which sounds reasonable at the surface. But when you're in your third wave, when you're in your third revisions and you're trying to pick up more gigs, but you're still trying to get the dollars from this one, it gets really fucking annoying. So like so what you really need to, I'm saying you again, what I found is I had to do work that I enjoyed. If I didn't enjoy it for the sake of enjoying it, then I'm going to be looking for a shortcut to get it done faster so I can move on to the new piece. How many Magic cards have we seen in like the past 10 years that are either just outright stealing somebody else's work, or is heavily borrowing from somebody else's previous work? Why are they doing that? Because they're trying to make money. So they're taking on commissions they don't have the time or the passion to complete, because they are being forced to mass produce art that has become a business that they have now locked themselves into, that if they don't continue producing results for, they don't get their paycheck. So they are making compromises in their ethics and values and the work that they're creating so that they can keep their home, because they've built a lifestyle that they appreciate through the artwork that they have, but the quality of that lifestyle is constantly under attack, because people are always trying to find cheaper, easier art. So if you aren't actually enjoying what you're doing, you're fucking yourself in the long term, especially if it's a side hustle. If the goal is to go in and make the art your full-time job, you are setting yourself up to make compromises. that you don't necessarily think that you would be willing to make, but find yourself 2 months late on rent and trying to come up with some form of agreeable tenure to be able to give to your landlord to keep indoors. And it can get rough. It can get real rough. I don't know. Maybe I'm making sense or not. But these are the things. These are the things that I had to go through. These are the things that I experienced in my own journey that this conversation is triggering in me. So these are very heartfelt experiences for me, and the path that I ended up having to take to figure out where am I going to be. And I had to walk away from it, come back, get frustrated, walk away again, come back, get frustrated, until I was finally able to find it was like, you know what, me chasing other people's dragons isn't doing me a goddamn bit of good. I have to find a way for me to find fulfillment in what I'm doing, and for me, like creating books ended up being the solution for me because, well, I love D&D, and I'm decent at design, so I was lucky in that I was able to marry this together to be able to build out like this, but not everyone's going to be able to do that. It's like not everyone's going to be successful in art, especially if they aren't specifically, particularly passionate about it. I don't know. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe I don't. Just tap that in there. Just get it in. For a long time, the simple pride of somebody willing to pay me for my art was enough for me to do whatever was needed. But as that became, like, I didn't care about being in books anymore. I was already in a lot of books. Who cares? Like, they're gonna send me a copy of the book. Now I just have another fucking book that's just eating up space in my home. I don't need it. I didn't take this gig because I'm in love with your project. I took this gig because I needed money. And thanks for the book, but that's not compensation for the wages. Like, if it comes between $50 or you give me another book, give me the $50. Keep the fucking book. If I like your book, I'll end up buying it to support you. You know. So it's like your perspective of what's important to you changes as you evolve. Initially, just being in a book was so precious. And it's like having that book in my hand. God, it feels so good. Like I'm in this. I was a part of this. I created this with somebody. So rewarding. And that just became whatever. Now it's just burning trees. You know? I don't need it. But your perspective changes as you evolve. And it's supposed to. You start worrying about things at different levels. Now I'm really ranting. Sup? $25. I'm not anywhere good enough for $200. You get to where you're at. You price what you find that you can get, and then so pricing basically works like this. You charge what people are willing to pay, and when you get good enough that more people are willing to pay that price than you can afford to work with, then you raise your rates to get rid of people that you don't need anymore, and it helps evolve your level of clientele. If you've got 20 people that are willing to pay you $25 for a piece of art, 10 of them will pay you $35. So you push your rates up a little bit and see where it sits. And if you aren't making the dollars that you want to make, then it's probably a skill issue. Time to level up. This tree feels close enough for me to start implementing conifer tips. So conifer tips is just a different texture. just want to dot it in a little bit. Not overdo it. Just start introducing a different language. A different texture since we're getting closer. As we move closer to the camera, we're going to see more detail in the trees. So we want to diversify our the texturing that we're using so that it becomes, again, we want to conceal the how the brushstroke is affecting the piece. So we'll add a new texture in, and then we're going to use our old texture, the same texture that we've been using. We're going to use that to erase. As we fill in this additional new texture block, we're going to use our eraser to trim out some of it to leave different patterns in the foliage. There. Just doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit, just to switch things up a little bit. Just adjust angles a little here and there. There you go. I think I want to drop the opacity on that a little bit. I don't want it to punch too much. That feels pretty good. We'll leave it like that. Yes, the forest for the trees. Yeah, it feels pretty good. That feels pretty good. Okay, great. Yeah, we're making a forest. Hey, look, it's starting to look like a forest, guys. Neato. And that's this layer. So we can move from this layer. I'm just gonna collapse that. So we have our sky and our mountains. There, sky, mountains, hills, background, like far back tree line. Closer, the first tree line, first copse of trees. And now we have this as our next layer. And we still have this much to go in our composition. So where we're at now is creating a new, we're going to start in on this, basically this block here. That block of terrain. Probably not even that big. It'll probably be like, something like this stretch. So we're working like we have this band, and then we'll have this band here, and then we'll have this bottom band. So we basically have 3 more of these striations to go before the composition is completed. So let's get to work on the next layer. We still have like 5 minutes left, so we can start ruminating about what the next level is going to be at. So let's take a look at where we're at in here. I'm not going to add any water line to this one because this if there is any water, it's just like some random cricks. There's no big lakes or anything. So I don't want to do any significant waterways in this piece, which limits the language that I can use. It's nice. I like water. I like the reflectiveness and the movement of water. It adds a lot to the composition of any piece. If you can work water into something, not a bad idea to do it. God, I just love all that terrain back in there. It feels so good. As we get closer in the foreground, we'll be able to have snap branches like this to prevent the camera view from being blocked too much. Further back, we want all this density and foliage back here to literally add volume to the forest. But as we move in the composition, as we like in this foreground here, like with this big tree here, or like this tree here, these can be just a bunch of snap branches so that we can still see all the topography through it, all the terrain that we've painted. Otherwise, it'd just be covered up with trees. So at some point, we want to start snapping off branches, and those branches just fall away naturally as they get less and less sunlight. they just naturally die off because they're not feeding the plant anymore. It's just you have to go further up. See, there's like a little bit here because it's catching the sunlight. That guy's still useful, but all these other guys, they all died off. They aren't needed. You can see back through there, like there's more light coming through. It's fun. God, trees are amazing. The way that they can push, how they just push through the environment. It's so cool. What do we want to grab? I don't know. There's a big old rock. No, we're gonna save. I think we want to save big rocks for the foreground. Do we? I don't know. We're gonna just basically be futzing around here. I don't know. I don't think anything. You know, Gabby. I don't think anything I said here was particularly inspiring, and I'm sorry if I'm not adding any hope or confidence to the conversation for yourself. But these are all things that I've struggled with for decades, and basically the only solace I could find is that if I'm not doing what I love to do, what the hell am I doing it for in the first place? That's basically where it all dies. Okay, I think I just need a. I think I just need a. Oop, there's my timer. I don't quite want to let go of today yet, so I think I just want to grab. I'm just gonna grab a dark something. A dark something, and collapse all of that. I'm gonna grab my chisel brush. Mountain chisel. So that's really, really dark compared to the rest of the terrain. It's gonna get that dark here at the bottom. It'll be that rich. The further back you go, the more faded that you want it to be. The saturation decreases as you move away from the camera. So I'm trying to start with lower saturation, lower contrast back here, so we can push it up as we get closer, so it'll feel more natural. That's too jagged. And I like this. I like having this mistiness step in between, because there's a lot of fog as a obscuring fog in the adventure. So introducing that fog into this terrain is important to me. I'm going to take my cloud brush, or my cloud chalk. Just work this into the canvas like that. Here, and I only have a minute left, so I'm just gonna scratch at this for a minute. Yeah, I don't see any reason to sugarcoat anything. Like the things that I say is what I'm supposed to say for me. And what you hear isn't going to be what I said. What I hear is what your brain is capable of parsing and implementing to help reinforce your own life decisions. So if you're in a place where you are going to be propelled to do more art, it literally doesn't matter what I say. I could say something incredibly negative. I could say something incredibly positive. If I say something really positive and you want to get more into art, then you're going to take my word of encouragement as the encouragement that you hear, that you should absolutely get more into art because it's what you want to do. And Phil said something that resonated with you, so now you're getting more into art. I could say something completely negative and you fucking hate and unsubscribe from me for it. But it sticks in your head because you want to do art, and what those negative things that Phil said, it sounds like he doesn't think I should be in art. Well, fuck that guy. I'm going to get into art, and I'm going to prove him fucking wrong. I'm going to be the best goddamn artist I can be. I'm going to come back to this channel someday, and he's going to see the fucking art that I can do, and I'm going to be like, that is mine. I can do that. Both of those is just you finding a reason to be motivated to do art, because all you were looking for in the first place was a reason to be motivated to do art. Most people that complain or whinge or or have, you know, like but I can't, but I can't, but I can't, is because they wish that they could, but right now what they need to feel isn't the fulfillment of yes I can. They need to go through all the permutations of why can't I, so that they can suss those out and feel them, so they can get into a space of no, I can do this, if that's what it's supposed to be, or nah, this was going to be a waste of my time, I don't think I want to bother with it right now, so they don't do anything with it at all. That's their path, because time isn't an arrow, it's a snake, and it is coiling through reality, and we are moving with it. It is moving in directions that we can't see, but is being orchestrated at a higher level to guide us into the circumstances, to have the emotions that we need, to fulfill the thing that we came here to do, which was to experience our life in a unique way. So if we're compelled to do something, it's because we're being pushed in a direction that either we've never been before that we want to experience, or we're being pushed into a familiar pattern that we wanted to experience more. In either case, it's always, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And whatever is being served to me in reality is a reflection of what is it that I really want. But you can't just look at it at face value. You have to really, it's not what are you looking at, it's what do I feel as a result of what I'm looking at. Which is why so often people are like, art's not about what's on the page, it's about what it makes you feel. And that is so true. And if you look at life as a performance that your soul is partaking in, has the opportunity to participate in, you can stop looking at like, what's the individual things that's happening to me? What's the travesties in the war that I'm angry about? It's like, no, you came here to feel angry and injustice about things. And here's all the things that are happening around you that give you an opportunity to feel that injustice. Or I feel like I wanted to come into this life feeling like I had an accomplishment of something. And you could have the most utterly irrelevant life of, you know, being like a customer service person someplace, but your perspective about that customer service is, I'm going to give these people the best customer service I can because I came here to live my life 100%. And I feel compelled and passionate to just give it my all, because that's what you're actually here for. It doesn't matter what the fuck you're doing. It can be completely inconsequential, because the satisfaction and the emotions that you're getting from what you're doing right now is exactly the type of emotional response that you're supposed to be having to whatever it is that you're doing right now that's causing you to have that reaction. We keep thinking that our the effects are because of the cause. The effects are because of the emotion. And we are literally retconning existence in real time. Like there's like a 0.2 second delay, or something like 0.0002 second delay from the information that hits our eyes and our brain being able to process it into an image. What happens in that nanosecond that something operating outside of time can insert emotions into that instance? Like, we just got served up a humdinger of a circumstance. Let's pump emotions A, B, and C into it so that we can hit that marker, so we can fill out our bingo card, our living life bingo card. Life moves so slowly to the soul. It's so slow here that our soul can literally do anything at once with every circumstance that arises. And it's just taking its bingo card and it's just checking off boxes. It's like, this life is a fucking bingo. And you won't see it until you leave the coil. But once you're out of it, you're gonna see this is exactly what you prayed for. All of it. It got you to where you needed to be able to appreciate outside of yourself. But we can't see it because we're in it. And that's the game. That's the game. Like, I'm gonna play World of Warcraft, but I'm gonna forget I'm playing World of Warcraft. I am that dwarf. And all in this struggle of alliance versus horde is real to me. Which is why I think role-playing games are so compelling to people, because it gives you a taste of that immortality, of being able to create scenarios that you get to have responses to. That is literally reproducing the purpose of life. That's why role-playing games are so compelling for people. Once they hook into it, once they feel it. Because you can feel it. It gives them, it's just like dreams. It's another opportunity, another avenue for us to have experiences and interact with things that's going to cause reactions and emotions to us that we won't be getting from our day job. And speaking of our day job, it is time for me to go. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. I'm going to be back tonight. Ooh, we're doing game design tonight. We're going to be, if all goes well, I'll be on by 5:30 or 6 o'clock. Let's count on me being in full swing by 6 o'clock tonight. That's going to be 10 hours from now. We're going to put in a good 2 or 3 hours worth of game design for the martial power system, giving marshals the same breadth of control and options that that casters do for the 5e24 game engine. I've been working on it over a year now. It's coming along great. I'm really happy with it. I'm looking forward to making a book out of it. And then we'll be back tomorrow morning to continue working on this piece. Jesus, I like this. All right, so we're in a good place, guys. Thanks a lot for hanging out. Thanks for the conversation. Thanks. Just thank you for the new subscribers. Everyone that's supporting the channel. Bless you guys. I really appreciate you being here. And that the stuff that I make occasionally makes sense to you. So I'll see you on the other side. Cheers.